try that.
Bones and All is amazingly gross and flying under the radar at the theaters. I think this one is a must see if you love body horror or you're into like original weird stories. You want to see something kind of freaky. This is definitely the one you want to see. Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell are this amazing duo of cannibals, and I've never cared more about cannibals in my entire life. I've never seen a movie even
Right.
try to make cannibalism something that you would be for or not see it in a negative light. But
Yeah.
by the end of this movie, I'm rooting for the characters to do what they need to do, man. Like they gotta eat, man. It's just what it is.
I have like the sympathy for cannibals in this movie that I do for like someone struggling with like a drug or alcohol addiction, where it's like, you know what, you're not a bad person, you just got a tough problem, and they're definitely fucking eating people.
This movie sneaks up on you. It's really an emotional and heartfelt movie, even though the topic is not easy to watch. They actually show you eating these people. I think it's a good metaphor of like having to watch things that are uncomfortable to watch. It's such an interesting movie. I had no idea until Dallas told me about this movie. So thank you, Dallas, for introducing this fucking weird ass movie to me.
I should probably apologize if anything. You know, I'm a big fan of Guadagnino's past work with Call Me by Your Name. I will say this movie is really cool because if you're a horror fan, I think there are elements of this that are going to feel familiar to you. Even in all of that, they still managed to tell, like, to me, one of the more intimate love stories that I've seen on screen in quite some time. I think the writer of this movie did an excellent job at really asking you to look past something that is taboo for pretty much everyone in modern civilization and still find yourself invested in these characters and the relationship they have between each other and find yourself rooting for them.
But the first 10 minutes, the main
Crazy.
character, Maren, she just bites the finger off of the girl at the party. And
Yeah.
when it happens, you're like, what in the fuck is going on?
I fully knew we were going to watch a movie about cannibalism. I was shocked. Within like the first 10 minutes, I was like, what in the fuck is going on? Because I guess I was shocked by how willing she was to do it in front of everyone.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that it would be set up into a way to where this is, and it ultimately is, where this is something we see her do in private, a secret withheld from everyone, including her father. But our girl is at the sleepover and just bites the girl's fucking finger off in front of everyone, which to me like immediately sets the tone for how like, because in the scenes prior to that, Maren seems well adjusted,
Yeah.
articulate, intelligent, seems to be like a very normal person. This is not fucking Sully, okay, who
Oh,
we
yeah.
meet later on, not some fucking weirdo, right? She has friends, she's popular. I think it immediately established like how insatiable the hunger is for eaters, because this is not someone who's lacking any like social grace. So for her to be overcome by her own hunger to just bite her fucking finger off in front of everyone, that's gotta be some serious desire. Poor dad, by the way.
It is tragic when he realizes what's just happened. He's like, we just got here, basically. We just got here.
Right.
Like, this is something that's obviously he's had to deal with for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, there seemed to be like a protocol for when she came in, and he realized what had happened. He was like, "Get everything, be in the car in three
You gotta
minutes."
go.
To me, we've done this before, and we learned through listening to the tape, which I thought was amazing. By the way, I thought that's such a good
Oh,
decision writing wise
oh,
to have
ooh.
pieces of the tape played throughout, so we could kind of walk through that story with her. A beautiful. I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was so much better than just having us a fucking letter or something boring like that, or having us listen to it in its entirety at the forefront. And it's like listening to sections of it as she's trying to kind of piece together. I don't know. It's like we were able to discover more about her past while we were experiencing life alongside her simultaneously. It's really cool to see how much she's changing and where she's come from.
You're listening alongside of the dad, and the stories are actually horrific. What he's saying, like eating a
Yeah.
kid, the babysitter's face,
Eating an
like
eight-year-old at a summer camp.
right, like
Yeah.
scary shit is happening, and they have no like
And
factor of like it's normal for them. It's blank. Like I think he describes how like non-emotional they were
yeah,
after these things happen.
yeah, and how she said that he said that she could tell, or he could tell, that Maren didn't feel bad for what she had done.
You get some kind of world building with Sully right before when you see that
Yeah.
he has a method to it. When he's cutting the chicken and she like realizes that they're not eating chicken
Hmm.
and like they're not in his house, like the slow reveal of like Sully's methods like I can smell people are dying. I take a
Yeah.
piece of their hair, like the ritualistic part of it for him. And then to like immediately cut to Lee, he like eats the guy in the store and says, "Hey, this is left over here if you want it." Like very so
Hmm.
casual, like just
Yeah.
it is what it is. And then leaving directly afterwards, and kind of having that like friendship. Like I kind of need somebody, and you seem a lot less fucking weird than Sully.
I was gonna say slim pickings amongst the bunch. Yeah. I want to go ahead and jump to the scene with the mom. How
Let's
did
do it.
you feel about that scene?
With the lead up of Maren finding her grandmother essentially and asking
Hmm.
questions about the mom, I was like, okay, something is
Fantastic,
obviously
fantastic scene, by the way.
oh,
Really great.
the most like real part of the movie of like the
100%.
effects that this can have on you, your family, and everybody long term if you stick around. Marin calling her out on her bluff, like I know you've helped cover something up. I know you have, and it just like slowly chipping away to like I put her away. She's signed her own papers, but she's in a mental institution. It's like so when Marin finally is like, I'm gonna go see my mom in the asylum. Such an intense moment of the movie. I think it's probably the most horrific part, other than the actual eating.
When she went into that room to see her mom, she saw really what the end game looks like for most people like her. I think it's probably the best scene in the movie. One of the toughest for me to watch, I think. It's
For
just
sure.
so beyond fucked up. And especially when so much of their journey had been leading to that point, because I was really, really rooting for Maren at that stage to find her mom and hopefully get some answers or some level of kinship. That's the thing. I'm almost hoping other eaters can find one another and have some kind of like little community based thing
Yeah.
going on, especially ones that aren't fucking weird.
Yeah.
And so for it to be such a visceral reaction to where she even tries to eat her own daughter, is so disturbing. But also just further to me, she was medicated and she still tried. So to me, it furthers the idea that this is almost a primal hunger for them.
When you're listening to the letter, it doesn't sound bad at first. Like if you're reading this letter, that means your father broke the promise. And then it randomly there's one sentence of like I have to protect you from this or something. And I
Hmm.
guess in the mom's mind, she's like, if I just kill my daughter, she won't have to deal with all of the pain and suffering that I've dealt with.
Fair take.
And it
Fair take.
is like
Fair take.
looking where the mom is right now. She's stuck in a corner in a chair. She's eating her hands, like
Yeah.
worst existence. Super drugged up, can't even talk,
Hmm.
but sees her daughter and still has the like I can get one more eat and
Even
my daughter.
throughout that movie, it just felt like living a long life as an eater was a cautionary tale in that film, where it's like there is no good ending. Like, but we haven't spoken enough about how good of a love story it actually is, especially like in depicting that sort of very young first love, especially under the circumstances where you feel as though you've like finally found someone who understands you in that way, because you really do feel the connection between Maren and Lee, and it's very palpable and it's very, to me, like very real, and it's not superficial at all. But there's a
Mm.
development of it. There's a development of it. Like it kind of just begins as, hey, we're just kind of stuck with each other, so to speak, because you don't encounter many other eaters, let alone people the same age or in the same age group as you. For them to have that moment where they're both sitting out in the field together, I think that's one of the better parts of the movie too, where things really come full circle, especially with Lee's character, and we kind of, because I think there's a very like tangible weight that his character has throughout the movie. You can tell that he's very much carrying something that is not very much spoken about. And when you finally kind of begin to understand what it is, to me it's so fulfilling for them to tell each other that they love each other and stuff like that. Like I'm pretty, I was like, I don't think I could cry during a movie like that, but I was like, you know what, they're fucking weird and they eat people, but I'm rooting for them. God damn it.
While this movie has a lot of good scenes, I would say my favorite part of this movie is Mirren meeting Sully all the way
Hmm.
through the first ritualistic eat. I was on the edge of my seat, like after seeing what happened with the finger, I knew anything could happen now. I like you said, I kind of thought that we were going to find out that all the eaters were doing this
Hmm.
ritualistic thing. So I was interested to know more about that, and you
Yeah.
know, knowing that Sully was weird, I just thought that was a good part.
I still think ultimately the scene with her mother is going to be my least favorite, but also favorite because of how miserable it is. Because to me, that was edge of the seat stuff for me. Because I was like, this is our whole point. This is why we're on the journey. This is why we're road tripping. This is why we're with Lee. This is the. It's not. It really isn't the climax of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm led to believe it is. It's
Yeah.
like everything's pointing towards this moment. And for me to even think that there's even an inkling of a possibility that things are going to go right for our characters in this, only to have it quickly shut the fuck down in the worst way possible by our own mom trying to eat her fucking face. My favorite scene, I guess that would be it, but I hated it at the same. I just hated it for the character, everybody involved in that scene.
To get into scoring this very weird, very gross, but very heartfelt movie, I do think it's one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah,
It'll be one of the least seen movies of the year, though, based on the reputation it's going to have. Though I'm telling you,
yeah,
nobody's going to see this.
but that might bring people out. Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 people like this is so disgusting, and it started killing it at the box office. I mean, relatively, it made like 5 million, but for something that made like 250, that was made for
Right,
250,000,
right.
that's crazy, crazy dub. I don't know, man. Also, we can't underestimate Chalamet fan base.
True,
People like
true.
people like him. People like him. I feel
Uh,
like,
I'm giving it a very high. I'm thinking 8 out of 10. The discussion in the movie is amazing. The original idea of the movie is amazing. The
yeah,
characters are so well made, like super believable in all the context of what's going on. But damn, some of those scenes are so hard to watch. I think that's why it is so good. But it's also why I'm like this that movie personally for me,
yeah,
because it's not really a horror movie. That's kind of the
no,
weird part. Like it is a more of a romantic love story with the
yeah.
backdrop of we are cannibals. So there's not really jump scares, not scary music. There's scary situations, but I think the movie's tone is it's very unique to itself. If you're willing to watch some gruesome scenes, this is definitely one to check out at some point and put on the list.
I think 8.5 is a perfect rating. I think this movie executes on every level, from performance to direction to writing. I don't think there's a weak part of this movie. I think if you have any qualms with this movie, it's just because it wasn't for you, which is totally valid given the subject nature and given how gruesome it can be. But I think if you go into it with an open mind and willing to have a different kind of viewing experience, I think you're going to find yourself amidst a pretty heartfelt love story that has a pretty gross backdrop, pretty 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 gnarly. I'll admit that. You know, people are getting eaten and stuff, but I think that's such a lovely metaphor for a lot of the taboo that we have in our current society, whether it be drugs, whether it be people's sexual desires. Not to say that any of these things are good or okay, but they are the realities, and these people have to live with them. And I think, in a way, it's almost encouraging to watch them have all their issues and still try to form a life together amidst all of the constant running and fear mongering that they have to endure. So I think in a lot of ways, like as depressing and as gruesome of a movie as it can feel, I do think there's a bright part to it. I do think there's an encouraging part to it.
Have you seen Bones and All? We'd love to know your favorite part if you have. If you haven't, definitely worth checking out. If even if you don't want to see it in theaters, but if you want to leave a like, if you enjoyed this video, you're new to the Dork Side, go ahead and subscribe. If you want to check out our commentary tracks on Patreon, we got the link on the screen right here. And until the next time, guys, peace.